Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
We are beset by many terrible foes in these dark times, but we walk in the light of the Emperor, and we shall not let a single foe stay us from our duty. We are the sisters of the great ecclesiarchy, and we will fight to the bitter end.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Stephen Fore, and Mike Haspil. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Yes. 40K it is.
And Tara Adun, everyone.
Very good. So 40K is in the house. What'd you guys do to bring in the new 40K edition here over the weekend?
I didn't do shit.
Well played.
I threw a big party and then went on vacation.
Also still count.
And then had to do my best not to be rude with everybody I was around on my vacation, with being on my phone the whole time trying to get all the 8th edition little tidbits coming across the country.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff.
I think Haspil did probably the most exciting thing for 8th edition.
Yeah, I ran a 3-round tournament like 2 hours after the game went live.
I just want to let everybody know, you're a badass when you throw a tournament on the day the rules come out.
Haspil, what's your dice bag say?
I don't know. Right now, my dice bag is just it says bad crown.
Hey, well, I know what his wallet says. It says bad motherfucker.
Yeah, it does. My wallet says that. Yes.
I know. I softballed it in. I'm sorry.
What were those redneck jokes that Jeff Foxworthy used to tell? You know you're a redneck when?
Yeah.
So is there a way we can begin a series of like Haspil style jokes?
Like you're a Haspil win.
Yeah.
Can we turn Haspil into like an adjective that
Sure. Like, I'm sure we can figure something out.
You microwave popcorn.
Haspilisms.
If
I ever lift someone up, if I ever free someone from a crushing car that is about to take their life, I'll get back on the phone with you guys and be like, yo, I just had a Haspil moment.
Or you're like, I kept it Haspil today.
Nice. Yeah, but we ran a tournament. We used power levels. It was a doubles tournament, and the entire goal was to get as many people into the game. And I honestly have to owe this philosophy to an old friend of ours named Tim Baptist. When I first got into 40K, he was peeling me away from Lord of the Rings, and I knew about 40K. I just hadn't played the tabletop. I'd played Space Hulk, and I'd played Necromunda, and I'd played all these other games, but I hadn't played actual 40K. And Tim got me into it. We went down to the Games Workshop, and I bought Demon Hunters because they looked incredible. And he was like, "Hey, there's a tournament, a Rogue Trader tournament in a week, and you can't play if your stuff's not painted." Yeah, and I was like, what? And so I painted like 1,500 points of Grey Knights like immediately, and then played the game. I lost all my games, but at the end of the day, I knew how to play the game. And that I kind of used that philosophy. That was the idea behind hosting this doubles tournament. We did a 50 power level per person, 100 power level per side. And we allowed people, because it was just, a learning experience. You could trade partners, you could trade armies in between rounds. You could play on the same tables. You could play you could move tables. And all we did was make sure that everyone had a partner and that everyone had an opponent, So, at the peak of that event, we did have some people have to drop out at the end because it was running a little long. But at the peak, we wound up having basically 32 people, I think we were up to, and we had a bunch of people come in, and it's different when you go, hey, 40K launched today, and it's really, really cool, and we're going to tell you about it. And the store owners were running demos on other tables, so that was helpful as well. They were just running the box set Primaris Marines against the Nurgle demos to show people. But it makes an impression when somebody walks into the game store and they hear this wall of noise, and they're just like, what is going on? And they walk back there and they see all the painted armies and people, everyone was having fun. And all of a sudden folks are like, I mean, they sold out of everything. I think at the end of the day, they had a couple of the Chaos and Xenos 2 indexes left, and that was it. So it was just, if you hadn't reserved something, it was gone.
That's badass.
It was really, really cool. And now we had 32 people that can answer questions, that have played 3 games, that, you know, we got some insights. Tau, using power levels, and Juice had warned me, you know, Juice had warned us, are a bit OP. Tzeentch demons, especially the pink horrors turning into the blue whatever's turning into the whatever little demons. That becomes really kind of OP in power level. But for the most part, power level worked. The games were very, very close. It seemed like when I walked around, it was whoever's turn it was winning the game. And that's the sign of a good, balanced game in my mind.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Haspil. I don't mean to cut you off, but
yeah.
No, when you are engaging every turn, and it's not just one of those, oh yeah, I just had an amazing turn because I slaughtered you, and now, or I moved into such a position where I'm going to take every one of the objectives, and it doesn't matter what you do. But anyway, it's your turn, go. And you just see the disgust in your opponent's face, you know. But you know, just my experience with 8th edition so far, it is a butt glitcher every single round.
Yeah, it was. I think I don't think it's perfect by any means. I think it needs some polish, but I think Games Workshop is well on its way to turning out the finest edition of Warhammer 40K we've ever had. I'm going to quote someone. I'm not going to say his name just so he doesn't catch a bunch of crap, but it was at the end of the day, this guy's a veteran who dropped out of 40K right about the onset of 6th. He got out of it, said that it was, you know, it wasn't for him anymore. And he just basically walked away from 40K. Now, he didn't sell all of his stuff, but he was done with it. And he came back at 7th, played 1 game, went, I'm done. And I asked him at the end of the day, I said, hey, what's going on? And he said, he goes, I got a problem. I got 2,000 points of War Machine. I don't know what to do with, or $2,000 worth of War Machine. I don't know what to do with. And I was just like, are you serious, dude? And he was just like, I can't think of an occasion why I wouldn't want to play 40K. And I was just like, whoa, that's big, you know? And we did have a couple of veterans come out, some old school guys that I hadn't seen play in years, you know, but they came out. Some guys drove down from Denver. It was a really, really good time. And to the point that I'm like, you know, some of the other tournaments I'm going to have at Havens, certainly we're going to have some match play tournaments where we go, you know, points and everything. But I'm thinking we might have some more of these casual, you know, power level events because they were a lot of fun. It was just really, really fast. People built their lists in less than an hour. You know, considering that the rules had just come out, people were just seeing these books, and they built their lists in less than an hour and then played them. And I gave people, like, this was an interesting thing. I had built it for 2.5 hour rounds because when I test played, it took a long time just flipping through the book and everything. And in the first game, in 2.5 hours, I don't think anyone completed the game. And I think most people ended right around turn 3. By the end of the day, most of the games were over and there was still an hour to go in the round. So just over the course of 3 games, as people started to learn the stats, started figuring out how things went, started, you know, using the rend and everything, how it works, they were shaving an hour's worth of time off the game and completing the game, just playing it to completion.
Incredible data. That's amazing finding right there, bro. Like,
oh yeah.
That's because that's where we wanted, right? We wanted this game to not take as long, but we also wanted bigger point values.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that they said right off the bat in their Q&A, that, hey, they were playing these games in like 90 minutes. And yeah, I see that happening.
And we had a smattering of, I'd said everything was allowed. So we had one woman brought in a Stampa, and that was her entire army because I guess it's 49 power level. But we had somebody play Magnus. We had guys bring Knights. Every army was represented except for Eldar, which I found sort of humorously interesting.
Whoa, Haspil, 32 people were at this event. It is impossible because there was, as of a week ago, there was 70% of the field was Eldar, and you talk to 95% of them. They're like, I've been an Eldar fan for life. I'm not a bit, so they can't play them now. Kind of surprising.
Yeah, it was funny. We remarked, everybody kind of went, where are the Eldar? There were Dark Eldar there. There were Harlequins there. But no Eldar, no Craft World. And that I found very interesting. There were some Tau there, making the reps. One of the most interesting things were orcs were back on the table. You know what I mean? So that was kind of cool.
I'm digging all that. And I played in a midnight release party here in town. There was about 18 players trying out the new rules, picking up their new books and starter sets, and it was really exciting. I played against an orc player, one of our friends, Preacher Nick, and he ran all his orcs across the table at me. I was like, well, let's see if he get here, and that was a blast just watching him run across the table. And
did they get there?
Some of them, yeah. Well, it turns out they can do the jump the first turn. He's like, all right, I'm going to cast this power, I'm going to jump, and I'm going to be 9 inches away from you. And I'm like, oh, and then you got that other thing too, don't you? He's like, yep. I was like, guess I'm getting assaulted first turn. But chimeras and stuff can fight back too, which is hilarious. And at the end of the day, you just back them up, and then other stuff can shoot the orcs that were sitting there. It's
very balanced with all these first turn assault capabilities, these fast moving units. The fact that anything can just disengage, everything has a form of hit and run, but the balanced hit and run that we've always been praying for, because hit and run was definitely top 3 most abused universal special rules in 7th edition.
Oh, and for sure.
Now that you can hit and run, but you're like, that's it. I can leave. I can't do shit afterwards unless you have fly, which is like real hit and run, right? Mm-hmm. But you can still only gun. But on the flip side, if somebody can charge you, swarm you, you can disengage and still engage them with the rest of your army. So I'm feeling very good about these balances. Like to mirror Haspil's sentiment, like, yo, this game is definitely tight. The balances are strong. So far, impressions are very positive.
I loved being able to actually assault after deep striking, because it was just like, hey, Gate of Infinity, I'm not just standing there. Like, there's a threat. Now, it's a 9-inch charge, so it's still not a guarantee. You know what I mean?
But you're telling me there's a chance.
I wanted to ask there's a chance.
I want to ask you guys the wording on a couple of things. Like, I was getting kind of confused earlier because, we talk about the Phantom Inch. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why is it in the game? But, they never address it as like a bonus inch. They always say within an inch, right? Isn't the wording that if you're within an inch of an enemy unit, you're engaged in close combat, essentially? You
can never be within an inch unless
you assault.
You assault, yeah.
Right, but so is the wording, and correct me if I'm wrong, you can whip it up in the main rulebook, is the wording, you roll your charge, you move the first model, you move a model within an inch, and then the rest of the guys fill in, blah blah blah. Is that the wording, like within an inch?
Choose a unit to charge with. Make charge move. No model charging can be more. No,
because I have a point when he gets that wording.
I'm looking for it as well here,
because I'm starting to think that the Phantom Inch doesn't exist.
I don't think it exists.
Yep, and there's and here's why. Because, for example,
it says the first model you move must finish within 1 inch of an enemy.
It doesn't say Juice. It doesn't say 1 inch away. It says within. It's the same word. It's the same wording as when you set up via deep strike. You have to be outside of 9 inches. You can't be within 9 inches. Mm-hmm. So that is saying you're further than 9 inches away. So for example, in 7th edition, if you measured it out and you're like, I'm 7 inches and a quarter away from you, that's an 8-inch charge, right? So what you're saying is it's actually a 7-inch charge in 8th edition, because you're 7.5 inches away, because you got within an inch. So 7 inches got you there. But if you're exactly 9 inches away from somebody, a roll of an 8 is a fail, because you did not get within an inch.
So you would have to move 7.
You're outside of an inch still.
Right. So you'd have to get to.
Yeah. So we're saying the Phantom Inch only comes into play if there's a round number, or if it's not a round number.
If it's not a round number, like if you needed 8 inches to go base to base, and you rolled 7.5 in the old edition, you're done. You didn't make it. But in the new edition, you did make it.
Right. Well, the reverse. If you're 7.5 away,
7.5 and 8, yeah.
A 7 failed, an 8 made it, but now a 7 makes it. But if you're exactly
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I said it backwards. My bad.
Yeah. So like this Phantom Inch phenomenon. The Phantom Inch doesn't exist. It's
like the 1/10 of an inch.
Yeah, it's actually only helps you in odd numbers, like as we said. So in my opinion, so like if you deep strike and you have to be outside of 9 inches away from the enemy, and you roll a 9, you failed the charge. No, you passed the charge. So 9 passes the charge, right?
Well, technically,
you're within an inch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do not pass.
But I just use that as my example of like within, withouts, because there's plenty of those. So because I started playing some games and I was like, wait a minute, I pulled the tape measure out and I was like, I'm exactly 8 inches away. I rolled an 8. I was like, yeah, but the Phantom Inch. So I moved my guys up 8 inches. And I was like, yeah. And then I looked at it for like 2 more seconds and I was like, wait, I'm not within an inch. I failed this charge. But everyone's like, the Phantom, you get that free inch. It's like, no, I don't. I have to be within an inch. I was like, oh.
So if you set up more than 9 inches away, you have to roll 9 inches.
Yeah, exactly. So that doesn't change. But
that doesn't change. That's what we've known. But what we're saying is, so if you're saying if you have a 5-inch charge, if I am exactly not 5 1/4, not anything else, if I need to roll, if I am 5 inches away, I cannot roll a 4 to get there.
Correct. Because you're not within an inch.
But if I am 5 3/4, I can roll a 5.
Yes.
And so still get there.
They've eliminated that bullshit from the game. That the fact that you were penalized in 7th edition for being close. If I'm like 5.5 inches away from you, why the fuck do I still need to roll a 6? I'm 5.5 inches away. Like I'm closer than that. Well, they've given you a solution to that.
I like it. I don't feel like I've done it wrong in any of my games. I've accurately measured.
No, I did a lot of math hammer in my head of like average charge distances, this and this. And I've been adding this fake inch to all my charge distances, changing my averages mentally. And I'm like, nope, you can't do that.
Yeah, I'm sure in the games that I've played that I've had it happen, because I'm just going on to the premise of that there's just literally you add an extra inch, but you only add the extra movement. Because I don't want to say inch anymore because it's not an inch. The Phantom almost inch is only going to come into play on odd numbers, or on
it's like odd,
not odd specific numbers, but not whole numbers.
It makes you be as close to the enemy as you are when assaulting, because you can't roll half numbers on dice. So I like that. So that was something I want to bring up to you guys today, and like my findings like linked up with your findings. Because I have, we talked about it. I saw a lot of people doing it a certain way. I've seen plenty of battle reports already where people are like, I would have failed this last edition, but now I passed it. And I was like, yeah, I get this bonus inch, but that's such a dumb mechanic, GW. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just say everyone has a bonus inch? They didn't. We got it. We overcomplicated a very simple rule. And we were guilty of that too ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of times, like, it's going to take a hot minute for this stuff to sort itself out. So you can't like beat yourself up too bad. We didn't have a copy of this for 6 months or whatever.
No, right. It's basically saying round up. Yeah. Haspil just said that in the chat. It's like, you're rounding up. I'm like, that's what the Phantom Inch is.
Yeah. I don't lose sleep over really anything except bubble gut and acid reflux. That only keeps me up at night.
It's the only thing that keeps you up at night. Yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about that.
Yeah, no, I think we're on the same page there. So for Tabletop Market Watch, I guess there's just one book release coming out next week. Retailers are still kind of scratching their heads on that one as far as what's up with GW, because we've been seeing all these rumor engine posts and things, and where's the beef? Don't know. But this week, they are reissuing a great way to get into Age of Sigmar called Thunder and Blood. That's the new Age of Sigmar starter set that features the fold-out kind of poster mat, the golden color-ish sprues of Stormcast and the red sprues of the Khorne Bloodbound opposing each other. And then it's got that piece of that box lid in there that you can flip over, and it kind of doubles as like a piece of terrain. A rule book in there that looks to be pretty chock full of pre-existing content that we've seen with the relaunch of AOS with the General's Handbook last year, but all kind of compiled together, and it's all good content for new players and such. So I think at $80 retail, it's a pretty good deal if people were looking to get into 8th edition. Definitely worth picking up as opposed to the normal $125 starter. But full disclosure here, the other releases for the week are Vandus Hammerhands, aka Dragon Cat, $40 retail, and Corgus, along with the Blood Secretor, which is another $40 box set, which all of that together also comes in the Age of Sigmar starter for $125. So in a way, Games Workshop's kind of figuring out how to sell stuff they've already sold to us before, but in a different way. And the only thing I really have to say about that is, yeah, they do it a lot, but it's got to work because they do it a lot. So we can't really be too mad about it because somebody's obviously buying this stuff. And again, it is a good format for a starter set. It does come with the vinyl mat, does come with a rather robust kind of like hobby rule book and source guide almost for Age of Sigmar there. So kind of some cool stuff. But again, we're kind of scratching our head about what's coming out next week, if at all anything, even 40K related. No idea.
Yeah, we touched on it before. Almost don't care about AOS anymore because 8th edition has bolters, lasers, and swords. It's kind of the IP that we all love.
In all honesty, and this is just a rhetorical question, does anybody have any money to spend on 40K right now? Because I don't. I dropped several hundo like last weekend.
Well, maybe that's why they're giving us a breather. I think you meant Age of Sigmar.
It's smart. A lot of big companies know that you have in the summer, especially you hit them hard with promoting, give them something sick, but then you got to give them a break. And that's definitely what's happening right now. Yep. Speaking of a break, we got Twitch, and my main man, Robbie B, is modifying his hours going into next week for summer hours. Isn't that right?
Yeah, we're just going to do summer hours, I think. Go extra innings on Monday. Longer, stronger stream, but we're just gonna cut it back to 1 day a week, which is fine. It'll still be about the same time linearly, but not over the course of the week.
So you're still gonna get your catnaps, you're still gonna get your rewards on Spikey Bits TV, but you're not gonna be streaming on Tuesday anymore. You're gonna be just doing an extra action-packed giant episode on Mondays.
And we will be dropping those VODs that we talked about earlier. In the webcast,
which you can still get your catnaps on.
No, you cannot.
No,
I didn't do the math on that. That's too much math. No, they're only for live. Only when we're live. But we will do. Like I said, they're the studio tutorials. We're bringing them over. That we spend hours and hours editing these things. We bring them over from YouTube. We've been uploading them. I think we have a pretty robust library already, and a lot more still to upload. We're still cranking them out every week. But the cool thing about that is that we'll be doing those like on Monday and Tuesdays during the day, leading into, Kenny and Key Lime streams, and then also maybe a smattering on the weekend as well around, when maybe Kenny and the Long War are streaming too. So there'll always be kind of something popping off on the channel in one form or another, if you got to get your.
And I guess the big announcement is this. Obviously, we've told you about the Eats Lab coming to Twitch. But then the big announcement is also the Long War TV is finally coming to Twitch. Live content from the Long War is coming probably July. Some live battle reports, maybe some IRL streams. It will be very similar to any TV station. There'll be some studio level battle reports and tutorials on rerun. Vodcast is, I guess, the terminology. And there will also be some cool live content coming to Long War TV. So we are blowing it up this summer. We're trying to keep that momentum, that 8th edition love. Twitch is the home of live tutorials and now live battle reports via the Long War, and even live eatery.
Live eats.
Live eats.
Live eats. I love it. Yeah, it is on and popping for the summer. Normally a lot of people tone back and try not to do as much, but not us.
Yep. So not to beat everyone to death with Twitch, I think most of them already know what it is. Shall we take a commercial break and then get to the meat and potatoes of this episode? Veterans, I've got news for you. Get your best deals online at dicehead.com. Long War Vets, call or email for your best vet deals. That's dicehead.com.
Dear veterans, quickly! Make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at secretweaponsminiatures.com have rewarded us all with an extra 10% discount on all Secret Weapon Miniatures merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
elricshobbies.com is your exclusive portal to upgrading your hobby. When you sign up at thelongwar.net, you gain an instant promotional discount good for 10% off at Elric's Hobbies. elricshobbies.com. We're back. All right. So we have one last thing to talk about, and then we're going to break down the top 5 new Imperial Armor units, courtesy of Spikey Bits.
Spikey Bits.
There it is. That was epic timing, brother. That was
that was planned out. It wasn't planned out, but it was perfect.
So we touched on this in the webcast, and this is super important. Now we're going to get hot for a few minutes, guys, so forgive us. But we are doing our
the salt is strong.
It tastes of the sea. We love this hobby. We are as passionate as anyone can be about anything about this hobby. We've dedicated our lives to this at this point, and so we do have a responsibility to this community. And so we're actually calling down a call to action. We talked earlier about engaging G-dubs on the Warhammer Facebook page, on the community page there. Get in there, ask your questions, ramp it up. We're even probably going to roll out with something on Facebook for you guys to feed all these rules findings and these potential need to be fixes or these weird interactions so that we can share those to G-dubs with huge amounts of comments already on it, almost like a petition, so that way we can keep them as engaged in this community as possible. And to that point, there was a bit of maybe a under the surface scandal recently that maybe a lot of people weren't aware of. And there's an epic individual named Alan PJ Pants. His last name is impossible to pronounce, so that's his moniker online is Alan Pajama Pants. Epic tournament champion. We're friends with him. We're drinking thousands of beers with this guy. You'll recognize him in the event you go to, Chicago Kamikaze, Chicago Hot Dogs. He's like 6'4", handsome, looking good, but always wears
He's got a shirt that always says best 40K player in the history of ever, because he is.
And he's known for his lounge and slippers and his PJ pants. So this guy is amazing. The guy, all he does is win. I saw him on Facebook very recently coming in hot, right? About something that I had no context. Like, I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, please, for the love of God, don't change deploy first, go first to +1. It changes the fundamentals of the game. This game is super balanced. Why would you do that? And I was like, who the fuck is talking about this? Alan. I hit him up on DM and I was like, yo, my man, like, what are you losing your shit over right now? And we had a big chat. He was going to be on the show tonight, but he actually has some real important stuff to do tonight. So we talked for a couple hours and he sent me over a screenshot of exactly what he was talking about. And what he was talking about was a conversation with Michael Brandt, the organizer of Nova, coming in. And I'm not going to take anything Brandt says out of context. I'm giving you exactly the context. People are talking about deploy first, go first as a mechanic in match play. Some people were saying that seems kind of crazy, right? Well, Brandt's response to that is, and I quote, 0 of the people who play tested the game are using deploy first, go first in their events. End quote. Not taking anything he's saying out of context. I'm not speaking for my man Brandt, but apparently my man Brandt is speaking for everybody else. He just roped every other tournament organizer that was a part of 8th edition playtesting, like my good friend Hank from Adepticon, all the guys over at Frontline Gaming, and himself. He's literally said none of these guys, blanket statement, are going to play 8th edition match play rule that states whoever deploys their army first has the option to go first a second. He said that's gone. So when I received this screenshot, this is how the news works now, right? People put it out there for the world to see, and we talk about it. So this made a lot more sense to me when Alan Pajama Pants sent me this, and we talked about it. And this is a guy who wins different armies. He's like, nope, the game is fun again. I played 8 games of 8th edition 40K on Saturday with my friends. This game is so fun and so balanced now. Everything has a point. And even if it doesn't make sense, we are not even close enough to our findings to be changing the rules. This is what ruined 6th and 7th edition and match play until, and we talked about this, the ITC came in and kind of saved us because GW wasn't playing with us anymore. So they did change a bunch of rules, but in a vacuum. And now they've already talked about that they're going to play the rulebook. They're going to do their Thug Life. I've seen them on their live show talking about how it's going to be random missions, random deployment, all the stuff in the main rulebook. And they're going hard in the paint. Like, let's play this game. So it's very disconcerting to see, community leaders, community tournament organizers at big major East Coast events saying that they are planning on completely changing a fundamental balancing in 8th edition before we even play 8th edition.
Yeah, I think that's a misstep, a huge misstep, and a very clown shoes thing to say on Mike's part, to rope all those other folks into it and almost make it seem like, I don't know, maybe they're better than the rest of us or something. Like, why do we not have an opinion? The previous editions never got a fair shake. And unfortunately, in a lot of instances, these little bubble vacuums started popping up at local events that were using the ITC framework, but still having additional FAQ restrictions, such as Nova, which was, a very disconcerting thing. Adepticon did it too. They had their own FAQ. It wasn't just Nova, but that is a lot of stuff that, weighs heavy on people's minds that, kind of maybe kept them away from the game. But at the end of the day, you can't just come out of the gate the first week and say, we're not going to play this at a major level the way it's supposed to be. This is one of the things that brings balance, in my opinion, to 8th edition. You can't just like brush it aside like it's no big deal. Like 0 of these players that played this are going to be doing it at their events. Like, how that statement is just, it's irresponsible from Jump Street.
Yeah, and I want to touch on what Haspil's kind of mentioned earlier and alluded to, was saying how ITC came in hot. They amazingly fixed for a lot of us and a lot of things. They changed this and shaped 7th edition into what it was in a positive manner, not necessarily just a negative, because a lot of people see negativeness from 7th edition. And I've said it for years. They are the new NFL instead of the CFL, and we saw who won. You either get with them or not. But they filled that void that GW wasn't in the room. They were the only people in the room, and they picked up the ball and they ran with it, right? But GW is back. Our savior is back. They came back to us, and they actually left us some dope shit to play to. So let's just play to it.
I'm digging that analogy.
Right?
They did leave us without a dope beat to step to, but then they came back.
They came back, and we got all the dope shit right now. So let's, as I said earlier, let's not come in Captain Save-A-Ho where nobody needs saving yet. Let's wait till next year till we get some time underneath our belt saying, hey, yes, this mechanic is not necessarily the most advantageous for the competitive gaming. We have a year's worth of test playing with it. I mean, to be honest, and to bring it all full circle, anybody who plays as of yet still doesn't know the full rules. We have battle reports and games where we have misplayed something, not because we did on purpose, because our own just not knowing. I actually was listening to Frank and Reese's podcast the other day, because I was like listening to everybody's, and they have great content, and he admitted that he misplayed some stuff. So like, I don't even want to hear saying, well, these test players, who have test played these games, I'm sure they didn't have flawless victory games where there was no mistakes being made, where human error came into to a point which flubbed up something that the rules creators didn't see. And it's on the test players' fault, not them. So again, let's not change shit, because there's no need for anything to be changed yet.
The point is, some people in the chat were making some great points. Who's to say that in a year chapter proved won't intentionally correct the problem we find? That's what we're talking about. As a call to action, what we're saying is you need to stay engaged in this. GW is here. GW is fielding questions. They're trying to address things on their Facebook page. The thing, though, we talked about is it's social media. They're going to go to posts that have the most engagement, the most comments first. So we got to make that a reality. If you see somebody who's like maybe an influencer or a community leader doing things like this, you need to bring this up to GW. You guys need to get rallied behind it. You need to be talking to GW, see what's going on, because we want positive rules changes. If GW makes this decision, we've always been about this. We are total purists. In 7th edition, the entire edition, with the very few exceptions, you never played an actual game of 7th edition at the major tournament level because they were also diluted. Let's not get into 8th edition and like just immediately begin not playing 8th edition. We need let's get thousands of people playing 8th edition in its purest form, and within 5 minutes, that's a bigger play test. That's a bigger demo than anything that's happened previous to that moment, in all behind closed doors play testing. So not to beat that to death, we said all we can. I think we should do it. Yeah. Rob, walk us down the Spikey Bits top 5 Imperial Armor.
All right. Well, we'll break some down real quick, but we did notice some of the folks in chat were telling us that there was some quick units to look at in the demo section, breaking down the data sheets on the Imperial Armor, Forces of the Astra Militarum, and also the Xenos one, which we got into a big discussion about the master on. And I actually downloaded the Imperial Armor, Forces of the Astra Militarum one for the good guys, which is also going to have the Titans and stuff in it. So it's basically guard and Titans from what I can tell. And there was an interesting rule in here because we got on a tangent talking about bombs earlier too, that the little Corvus Black Star can drop bombs pretty well. So I wanted to bring up this particular flyer because it also drops bombs, maybe a little bit better than the Corvus Haspil. So in the Marauder Destroyer, which is the big, rather large aircraft, it's a Forge World, or it's a Thunderhawkish size for the guard. It kind of looks like a, I guess it's supposed to be a Marauder, like a whatever B-1B bomber that was from. It's like across from that. Like it's got little gunners in the front with assault cannons and all the different positions. It's a quad engine aircraft, very cool looking, very, very big, expensive kit. So this thing can actually drop heavy bombs, which are really interesting.
Heavy bombs sound
heavy bombs, yes. Not just bombs, heavy bombs. Once per battle, a destroyer equipped with heavy bombs can make a bombing run against a single enemy unit and moves over during one of the movement phases. After the destroyer has moved, pick an enemy unit it flew over, and then roll 3d6 for each vehicle or monster in that unit, or a single d6 for every other model in the unit up to 12. For every roll of 4, that unit suffers a mortal wound. So, math on that, 3d6.
That's very different than the Corvus Black Star's bombs.
That's a lot better because the others are just on the roll of a 6.
On a roll of a 6. Yeah, that's correct. So this is on the roll of a 4. So 50% chance you're doing mortal wounds.
Sick.
Mm-hmm. That was pretty interesting. So I'm sure we will see that mechanic definitely in some other aircraft here when we get the rules. I have right off the bat, a lot of people are concerned about dreadnoughts. The Lucius pattern dreadnought drop pod, but I guess the only way to bring dreadnoughts into the battle right now is in the Space Marine book. It's not the top 5, but I just want to mention I think it's 125 points, and all it does is just allow you to now put your dreadnoughts into drop pod assault. So no other real special rules. It's toughness 7, 8 wounds, 3 up save. Nothing cool about like popping smoke or anything when it lands. But a lot of people keep asking about that one, so I definitely wanted to mention it. It's a little lackluster in my opinion.
But I will say, Robbie B, since they took that out of that ability for dreadnoughts to get into a normal drop pod, maybe it doesn't. That's kind of like the whole shabam right there.
Yeah, quantity is its own, or quality is its own quantity.
Yeah, but they kind of don't. In my opinion, I don't think they need it anymore. They used to need it because they get popped. Now you can literally walk over there. You'll take some wounds, but you're going to make it.
A slightly above average advanced roll, and you're moving 12 inches a turn with the dreadnought right now. And if you have multiple units on the table that distract the enemy, like if you have a balanced army, some Terminators deep strike in, a couple Predators in the backfield, maybe some Rhinos going after some objectives, some las cannons popping off, and maybe a dreadnought or 2 coming across the table, you have a lot of targets to think about. Dreadnoughts, even though like las cannons can fuck a dreadnought up, you really have to think about where your las cannons are going all day, every day now. And so things will die. Absolutely, things that get got. But the more balanced you play and the more targets you present your opponent, the more success you're going to experience in 8th edition, which is the staples of a balanced game.
Couldn't agree more, but also don't forget Space Wolves have the best dreadnoughts around because they have blizzard shields. 3-up invulnerable is so clutch.
Yeah, that's definitely comes in pretty clutch. Speaking of invulnerables on a walker, all of the Night Titans, or at least the Renegade versions, are in the Chaos book for Imperial Armor. So we're just going to take a quick look at the Renegade Knight. I think they're definitely all of the Lance or all the Cerastus class are definitely worth taking a look at. The Knight Lancer, Strength 8, Toughness 8, 27 wounds, 4 attacks, Leadership 9, 3-up save. It moves 14, plus it has this flank speed. All the Cerastus patterns do. So they're pretty cool. They can advance 2d6 to determine the maximum and add the result together to get the maximum distance it may move when advancing. So what's that, 21? I think 14, 7, 21.
That's good math. Math holds up.
Math checks out. It also has a 5-up invulnerable against shooting, 4-up invulnerable against any attacks coming in the fight phase of any turn. And any units with a Titanic keyword must subtract 1 from their hit rolls when thrown at it. Not too bad.
Real quick, what a turnaround for that. The Lancer used to have a 4-up invulnerable, because of the shield. And then in close combat, it had a 5, where no other Night Titan had one. Now it's in the reverse.
Mm-hmm.
It's safer in close combat. My God.
No, it's got that big shield. You can't hide behind it. Spartans, push. Its weapon is actually pretty good too. The Stratus Shock Lance, melee, plus 6 strength. So you're looking at 14, -4 AP, does 6 damage. If you fail, you may reroll failed hit rolls with this weapon if the Lancer charged in your charge phase. Okay.
That's really good considering dice manipulation for, to hits and wound shot command dice are far and few between.
Mm-hmm. And it's hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s as long as it has at least 14 of its wounds. Yep. Then it's got a shock blast, 18-inch range, heavy 6, strength 6, -1 AP, D3 damage. So I guess it's something to do with it can just kind of shotgun blast the lance. But maybe more importantly, I don't know if we've talked about the new stomp mechanic, the Titanic feet.
I love some happy feet.
Some happy Titanic feet.
Is it the happy feet attack? Is it kicking things or stomping things?
I think it does both. Oh, no, it doesn't have a different profile. It has a single profile.
I mean, like, what's the description?
In my mind, they do both. They're kind of like a shooing motion, tap dancing.
Yeah. Exactly.
A murder shuffle?
It's a murder. It's definitely a murder shuffle.
Or when the Ents came into Isengard and they're just punting some dudes and then stomping on others.
Yeps. Strength of user, -2 AP, D3 damage. But if you throw all your attacks into this, make 3 hit rolls for each attack made with this weapon instead of just 1. So you have the potential of 12 attacks here if you throw all 4 of your normal attacks into it.
Dizam. That's each Night Titan. That's a squad of Space Marines a turn.
Yeah, that's what it does. If you swarm it with a bunch of dudes.
Yep. Or it's blasting fools with its lance. I think in this configuration, and it gains a wound back on 5-up each turn. It can heal a wound back. In this configuration, I think player J, I haven't added all these up yet, but I'm pretty sure it was around 525 if I remember correctly. Talked about it yesterday. So reasonable. I feel like. So that will have a loyalist version here soon with a new book coming out this weekend. And one of my personal, and I'm sure Kenny likes this guy too, personal all-time favorite Forge World units. He has had a number of rules throughout the years. Sometimes he could fly, sometimes he couldn't fly, which perplexed many, many people. Angrath the Unbound
is a beast.
This guy is straight legit.
Get ready for this. Get ready for this beast mode.
Oh, this guy's nuts. I think he's around 700 points, but he's weapon skill 2. So he's hitting most of the time. Ballistic skill 4, no big deal. His strength is 12, but he also gets a +3 mechanic to his strength when he's swinging the axe of corn. So you're talking string 15. We'll just say string 15.
I heard that doesn't suck.
That might be okay. Tough to say, 24 wounds. His attack profile is 10 until he gets down to half wounds taken.
I want my Damashon to have 10 attacks.
What happens when it gets down to half wounds?
Attacks are 8, string 10. Oh no.
+3 still, so 13.
Yeah.
So word.
Yeah.
So you do 12 wounds to him. He's just a bitch ass strength 13, 8 attacks, hit on 2s. Or what's his skill?
2.
Word. Cool. Okay, so what does that axe of corn actually do?
So it's +3 strength, -4 AP, D6 damage per, each and every one of those 10 attacks.
10 attacks, hit on 2s, wound on 2s, D6 damage. Seems good.
-4 AP. Yeah.
That is love.
Love for the blood god. He also has a basic Hammer of Wrath attack. So when you do charge in, roll a d6 for each unit within 1. On the result of a 2-up, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds.
So this dude is coming in with 10 attacks, a true Hammer of Wrath, and 10 attacks that are hitting on 2s, wounding.
Probably on 2s.
Anything that is toughness 7 or lower on 2s. And doing what damage again? D3?
D6 on his axe of corn.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really bad.
If he was string 16, he might be OP, like in this configuration. But just being at the 15, just kind of that's just a little bit, not quite 11. And he's less points.
Yeah, no, he's a far better Angrath than we've had in previous.
And he's obviously has fly.
What's his movement speed? What's his movement speed?
16.
So 16 fly.
Yep.
And his invulnerable save is a 5.
4.
4.
2 up. Normal. Hell.
A 2-up flyer with a 4 of invulnerable is solid.
I'm already not looking forward to my next trip to Chicago because Dave has one of those assholes. And he's going to be like, I'm using Angrath. I'm like, oh.
Yet another model I haven't played with in 10 years.
And you say 700 points?
Yep, 700 points.
That's cheap, bro.
I think it might be a little bit more. You don't have to pay for the axe of corn is free. How much is
we paid that much points for the bitch ass brass scorpion. I thought it was a good deal.
He would punk down 2 brass scorpions. What it smells like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
He's no joke. And then of course you can leave him in reserve and try to summon him using the new super duper summoning rules.
What's his power level?
It's 35.
No, it's impossible.
No, because for the arch ritual, it's higher. You get 9 d6. Wait,
who gets the arch ritual?
Anybody that wants to summon him, if you're bringing in one of the greater demons.
So whoever's going to bring him in is going to die. That just like the old days, because all the doubles, if you roll doubles, you take all this. If you roll triples, what is it like? D3 mortal wounds or something? What is it? Demonic ritual. I got it right here. Hold on, because I love it because when you summon units into the demonic ritual, there's a chance you get got, and all you're trying to do is equal, or all you got to do is equal the power level of what you're trying to bring in. So you have a demonic pool, so you can have a shitload of corn units, right? And you can just roll those dice and be like, oh, this is what I rolled. I'm going to bring in these bloodletters. But yet everything you put in that sidebar. So if you put in 700 points in your sidebar, because you also think you're going to bring this guy in, remember, you don't have to bring him in. You put 700 points in your demonic ritual sidebar, and you're literally like bringing in, fuck it, this game, I'm not going to bring him. I'm just going to bring in a whole bunch of 700 points with the corn units all day, every day. But the current demonic ritual is only 3D. And I'm going to read that rule for you guys real quick. And so I love this. You guys remember what happened when you used to possess the bloodthirsters back in the old days? It would kill your champion. But he would have the strength of the thing you were summoning. Oh, I love that. He'd be like just hidden in a squad. And this is my strong hand. Oh, dude, I used to love that shit. So you roll 3 dice. That's your summoning roll. You can summon 1 new unit of demons with this demonic ritual ability of the battlefield that has the power rating equal to or less than the total result rolled, as long as it's the same Chaos God keyword. So it's got to be a corn character. The unit is treated as reinforcements for your army and can be placed anywhere on the battlefield within 12 inches of the character and not more than 9 inches, not close to the 9 inches of the enemy. If your summoning roll includes doubles, your character then suffers a mortal wound. If it contains triples, D3 mortal wounds. So you're saying, it doesn't even actually kill a guy. So basically you're saying you're probably going to take D3 mortal wounds, but you're going to
no. If you take trips, you just die with this one.
With the super ritual.
Yeah, the super ritual. You get 9 dice. Doubles, you suffer immortal. Trips, you die. And
get some bitch ass heralds.
Yeah.
Throw them into the spots and make the magic happen.
Yep.
I mean, in all reality, I'm not putting a 700-point guy in reserves. It's just not.
No. I don't know. I can't imagine a world where you would actually do that.
Well, a 700-point guy means you should be deploying first, going first, right? So you should be fine.
Yeah, that's true too. So I feel like he has to table all day, every day, but I might be wrong.
I'm feeling him in a brass scorpion.
GG.
Yeah.
GG, bro.
We've talked to Brass Scorpion to death.
Next battle report.
That was, yeah, we actually have both of those.
Doing it.
And it's not even two, so it'd be Brass Scorpion, him, and a Kaitan.
Don't have one of those put together.
We have a Chaos Night Titan, don't we?
Got a Heretic one. We could maybe say. Maybe. Remember. We'll see.
No, this would be so clutch. Clutchest battle report ever in the Long War history.
The Atropos, we're not going to go over the stats because it's very similar to the Lancer, but the Atropos, that's the mechanical one with the laser beam, is worth mentioning because it has some interesting mechanics. It's got a 2-mode las cutter, one for shooting, one for melee. The melee is strength 14, -4 AP, D6 damage, can reroll failed to hit, and wound rolls, something very scarcely seen in this game right now, against monster building and vehicle keywords. So there's your, hey, why does this thing say it's a building? Well, there's a reason. Probably because the Atropos wants to kill it. So not too bad of stats right there. The las cutter and shooting, 9-inch range.
Hey, I just want to say, Robbie B, before we never had to worry about killing a Sky Show landing pad, or bunkers themselves were a pain in the ass if your army didn't have melter guns or whatever, but buildings are the truth now. A lot of these guys are packing, again, toughness 7, 20 plus wounds. I mean, the
armored box, armored container was definitely the predecessor to all the shit.
We definitely.
Oh man. And don't just think that you're going to need keywords and special destroy building weapons and all that shit, because you're not just going to roll up there with some rending claws and do dick all anymore. You're not just going to go up there and shoot. For anybody who said that, my Land Raider is going to die to las guns, you're ridiculous. This makes no sense. You will need, in this game of 8th edition 40K, you need to have specific weapons to do specific things, because needing 5s to hit wound everything or 6s and they get a save is not going to do it.
So then it's let's see, that was the melee. So the las cutter is strength 12, -4 AP, D6 damage. If you slay an enemy with the vehicle or monster keyword in the shooting phase, you can immediately take another attack against a separate target within range, but you cannot go infinite. Bonus attacks do not generate further attacks. So if you coup de grace something, you get another attack.
You guys ready for this? So I was just saying, how much las cannon is actually a threat for a Land Raider? Las gun, I mean. So I just said 5. I just did the math on 500 las guns pulling the trigger, and these are my ballista skill hit on 3 las guns that don't exist.
I was going to say the unicorn of las guns, because they don't exist.
So this is so 500 las guns shooting that hit on 3s converts 333 hits. Okay, then wounding on 6s to a Land Raider converts on 55 wounds. Land Raider has a 2-up save, fails less than 10. And Land Raider has 16 wounds.
Yeah. Straight. Seems good. 500 mythical las guns.
So it takes 1,000 las guns on
They hit on threes.
3 profiles to actually kill a Land Raider.
So pretty much never is what you're saying.
Impossible. Got it.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
yeah, I don't want to hear anybody, oh, well, I've got 70 guardsmen. It's a chance. Okay, bro. That's, get out of here. Not happening. I'm not going to park my, I don't even need to go into logistics on the distance and first range, second range. I don't even know. It doesn't matter. It's not happening.
But you're saying there's a chance. That's all I heard.
There's a chance.
True.
There's a chance.
Some of the next units I think we need to take a look at are some of the flyers. Definitely want to look at the Xiphon for its points. It's got a lot of damage output. I think it has multiple las cannons, and it's a Xiphon missile launcher for the loyalist side. Very, very cool stuff. I think it clocks in under 250. The Fire Raptor, too, is definitely worth taking a more than a secondary look at. This thing is a brick shit house of firepower coming out of that thing. A lot of folks, they're going to be kicking themselves because they didn't put quad heavy bolters on their Fire Raptors.
Can't blame people for not putting that shitty ass gun in that 7th
I
edition.
know. I mean, I was magnetized everything, but if I wasn't like so OCD about it, I'd be kicking myself too, for real. So it's Avenger bolt cannon, 36-inch range, heavy 10, string 6, neg 2 AP that does 2 damage. So pretty versatile little gun. You're going to be hitting on 3s until you take more than half damage with 16 wounds. Strength 8, toughness 7. So a little reverse right there. Then it's got the quad heavy bolters if you want. 12
it's like a mini flying Land Raider.
Yeah, it's a mini flying Land Raider, exactly. Twin Hellstrike launcher, which I don't know. Tell me your thoughts on this. The Hellstrike launcher, 72, heavy 2, strength 8, neg 3 AP, 3 damage, or you can switch it out for 2 twin las cannons, which are, heavy 2, strength 9, neg 3 AP, D6 damage for, I think, 14 points more each.
I'll take the las cannons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. Where is this thing, Robbie B, pointed at? Because all I'm hearing is, I love it. I love it. Yes, I love it. I need to know where my points are going to lead me.
I want to say it's 410.
Damn. That's solid.
I mean, when you compare it to a Storm Raven, I feel like that's not too bad, right?
That's solid. Yeah, I think the Storm Raven points in around like 330. Is that right?
Yeah, it's around there. I forget. Fire Raptor's 250 base. Then you got to buy your bolt cannon. How much?
Which I love that gun.
Twin Avenger bolt cannon 0. So that was easy.
Sweet.
250 plus 0. Quad heavy bolters are not discounted. So they're 36.
And how many do you have?
2. So 72.
72.
So you're looking at 325. You can switch them out with las cannons for. Oh no, wait! You have to take the Hellstrike launcher. So the twin Hellstrike launcher, 48 each. So you're up at what? 350? No, 400 now. Yeah, it's about 410, and then if you switch out to las cannons, you're looking at an extra
30 total points. You said like 14 each.
Yeah, like 16. So an extra 32 points. You're well over 450 at that point. But it is airborne. It does have hover jet, power of the machine spirit, so it doesn't suffer penalties for moving and firing.
It's gonna be so sick.
Fire. Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out there. And then we talked in the pregame about the Falchion, which is a fell blade chassis with 2 volcano cannons. Just to give you an idea what volcano cannons do. 120 range, so mostly all of every table you ever play on. 2d6 shots with this thing at strength 16, neg 5 AP, 2d6 damage. Can reroll failed to wound rolls when targeting Titanic units with this weapon. And the Marine versions of volcano cannons hit on 3s for the most part.
Average 7 shots. Average 6 hits. Average 5 conversions. So 5 2d6 damage if it's shooting at a single target.
That is literally everything non-Titanic out there, I feel like.
If you're saying I'm going to shoot that Land Raider, 5 2d6.
Did you tell me that the best gun in the game, one of the best guns in the game is the Volcano Cannon that we can see. Astra Militarum have it on a Baneblade chassis. That's good. You're telling me the Chaos, for the first time in history, the bad guys of the universe just said, I'll just take 2 of them on my chassis, please.
Yep. The bad guys and the good guys, they both have access to it.
Average, I think that's an average of 35 damage.
Yeah, it definitely is. Not to count, not even counting the 2 quad las cannons that are on each side. Heavy.
So if you make some pocket 5 of them vulnerable, I forgot you had.
So
I guess if you make like 4 of those pocket 5 of them vulnerable. Damn, bro, it's like literally apocalypse. This thing is so brutal.
So you're saying there's a chance?
No, I mean, yes.
No, we're actually saying there's no chance when this thing decides to shoot at you. That's the moral of the story.
This thing's brutal. It is brutal. Like I giggled maniacally when I was talking to Austin about it. I was like, what do you think's is good in here? He's like, this thing called the Falcon. I was like, the Falcon? There's no Falcon. And he's like, no, the Falcon. And I'm like racking my brain for what he's talking about. I was like, oh my God, he means the Falchion. Oh my God, that's got 2 volcano cannons.
And we talked about earlier, it hits on 3s. It's good old Chaos Heretic Astartes. So it's like it fits in with a lot of the keywords in the Chaos book. So there are psychic powers because, like all cool games with keywords, you have a variety of keywords you have to be looking at. And we're still in the early days with basic bitch combos, but we're going to look at every basic bitch combo available to us. And the Dark Hereticus Discipline has something called Prescience on it, which you can target Heretic Astartes unit within 18 inches. They add +1 to all hit rolls made into the next psychic phase. So this thing hits on a 2. And there's definitely combos with Chaos Lords where you can reroll 1s. So you can essentially turn this thing into a 2-up rerollable fire platform. If you think and it can split up its guns any way it wants. It can shoot those. It can realistically kill 2 things a turn, of starting with the hardest things to interact with in your opponent's army down the chain.
Yeah, with the quad las cannons, they'll do work too. And then the good guy version is faction keyword Imperium Adeptus Astartes bracket chapter. So those cool HQ abilities should splash over to this as well, right? From the
looking strong. I'm all about putting like I said, we've been saying this since day one. This is a sci-fi IP, and we need big ass fucking tanks. We need vehicles, airplanes, all that shit to make it feel sci-fi. And the thing we need is these things to matter. We need tanks to matter. And now they do. Predators matter. Storm Ravens matter. Rhinos matter big time. Everything matters. Thorax matters. So you're going to have a cool mix of sci-fi elements on the table, making the game feel very different than Age of Sigmar, which is, I think everyone's primary concern was it was going to be all AOS. But it feels like a totally different game. And how many wounds does this unit have? This Falchion?
26. So standard Baneblade chassis, 26, it looks like.
So it's 26 wounds of its own, which is hard to interact with.
It is. Hey, do me a favor, Robbie B. Blow Kenny's mind real quick. Tell him how good it is in close combat.
So this thing has a nifty melee ability called Crushing Tracks, which is strength of user, -2 AP, D3 damage for each one of those attacks. In normal undamaged mode, it has 9 attacks. So it's weapon skill 5. The Marine version is weapon skill 5. The other one's 6.
What's its toughness? 8?
9 and 9 strength.
Oh,
so it's going to be making 9 strength 9 attacks at AP 2, hitting on 5s that do D3 damage. That's the whale tail.
Like, that guy is the truth. Like, get up. You don't take Overwatch. This is another thing, as we've seen on battle reports, you don't take Overwatch from this thing because it will just randomly murk you. And then if you do get into base contact, he's just going to snap off. You get 9 attacks. I will snap off 4 hits with that, that are doing, strength 9, quality damage, quality rend, and you're dead.
I want to put this in perspective, though. So I put up a cool-ass little Death Guard army on my Facebook page a little while ago, just looking at some of the keywords, legions, and I was channeling an old 3rd edition army I used to play back in the old days, and it was fun, balanced. I had 3 Predators, a Land Raider, some Plague Marines, some Power Fists and shit, and something cool in the Land Raider, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was my go-to list. I had a good mix of las cannons, a good assault delivery system, and some good objective securing with 3 rhinos. I can go off with some tough units, some toughness 5 dudes who feel no pain and get to objectives. It was fun, balanced. I won a lot of fucking games. So I put that on Facebook recently, and a lot of people are like, damn, that's some old school shit. How do you think it'll do? A lot of people were like, oh, you're going to get tabled by orcs, this and that. And we addressed why I don't think I'll get tabled by orcs with how vehicles work and how tough vehicles are and how you can outmaneuver horde units and engage them on flanks with rhinos and suck them into combats that they have to fall back from and get them stuck in a wombo combo. Land Raiders can dump their death load on somebody and hit a priority target while engaging a trash mob. You have all these tools, right? But that list also has 16 las cannons. And that's something people are like, oh, you're never going to, that's not good. You'll be able to take out the hordes. I was like, you know what I'm really worried about? Fucking tanks, bro. Tanks doing to me what I'm about to do to you. And that list will put almost 19 hull points, almost 19 wounds on that Falchion if it shoots at it.
Oh yeah, that's brutal.
No, and that you're going to need that. No, that's a great point, Kenny. For to leave with almost is everybody at home. Make sure you're building lists that can deal with a little bit of everything. But at the end of the day, every weapon you have can pick up a model. But it is going to be tough to grind through these rhinos, let me just plug and play 6 Tauroxes. It's going to be the truth. Blood Angels, Razorback spam is going to be back when they're coming back at you with 30 assault cannon shots a turn, on 8 chassis. It's going to be rough.
Yep, and things like las cannons are going to matter because remember, for a while, the strength didn't matter. We were all just playing strength 6 and 7 because it just didn't matter, volume of fire. They've made, because of toughness and the way it interacts now, they've made things that are strength 9 matter. A las cannon matters, strength 9. It wounds most vehicles on a 3, and it wounds this insano toughness 9 motherfucker on a 4, where all these other motherfuckers wounded it on 5s. So, you definitely got to think of, and so my balance of my army isn't about my firepower dealing with hordes, but my tactics dealing with hordes and my firepower dealing with armor. That's my balance. That's my personal balance for that list. And so I definitely am super hyped about all these rules you just spit it. I don't think anything here is unmanageable. I think there's a tactic to engage all of these things. And I'm looking forward to seeing more 8th edition battle reports coming out of the CAT Command Center here in July. Gonna be a tight summer.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. And the Beats Lab will be moving to the Southern Pines area. Robbie B, we can let everybody know that. Robbie B's, Southern Pines, Moore County area has put in the draft, and we have claimed Robbie B.
my new porch has a chicken coop underneath it. I'm people.
That's it.
Well, why is that?
Because chickens are legal in Moore County.
Oh,
inside city limits.
Okay.
But not Pinehurst, because they snooty apparently. They don't like the chickens. I'm not gonna get chickens, I assure you.
Not gonna start raising chickens. Oh, wow.
No, not yet. Well, maybe as a hobby for the cats. I don't know. The cats will probably get tore up. But yeah, I'm gonna probably be living about 10 minutes away from Juice here.
Nice.
Towards the end of July, so that'll be pretty fresh. We'll be able to do a lot of coordinating and recording of things. So I'm stoked. Yeah.
Before we drop out of here, we had Warlander TV on the pre-show point out something. It's buried in the fluff of Militarum Auxilia, and it's It's a sentence that GW threw in here. And it's there are many other officially ratified types of abhuman in the Militarum Auxilia, from the spindle-limbed longshanks and the stocky, capable squats to the amphibious pelagers and the persecuted beastmen. So they legit, like, squats is actually mentioned in an official codex, and that hasn't happened in decades. So maybe there's going to be squats in 8th edition. I get Troy Greeley's hopes up.
Go, Troy. Poor guy.
Poor guy. He's still playing squats after all these years.
All right. Before we get out of here, we have one last major issue to talk about. That's Denver Comic-Con.
That is Denver Comic-Con. That is truth. Yes. So, folks, if you're going to be at Denver Comic-Con, please stop in. I'm going to be signing books. We're going to have actual copies of Graveyard Shift. So I will be at the Tattered Cover booth from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Friday. I'm going to also be on a couple panels, but I don't know. Those are subject to change, so please check the schedule. And then I'm also going to be signing on Sunday from 4 o'clock until 6 o'clock, and that's going to be at Author Signing Booth 1. So come say hi if you're there.
Author Signing Booth 1. Graveyard Shift by the legendary author.
Yeah. Saturday, I'm going to be cosplaying a Ghostbusters, so look out for me. I'll probably be the only black guy Ghostbuster. Maybe I won't be. Maybe it'll be different, but I'm just guessing that if you're looking for Winston Sedamore, that'll be me.
All right, Haspil, we'll go ahead and take us out, buddy.
All right. Well, this should read, "A million years into the sky is Ra, sun god, sealed and buried for all time. And it's not door to heaven, his stargate.